Saturday Ticket's back with another episode of NFL 100. Articles 17 to 19. Article 17 is called Dawn of America's Team. Here's the picture. 17. Dawn of America's Team, January 16, 1972. The Dallas Cowboys franchise began play in 1960 and methodically developed into a well-oiled machine. They challenged the NFL title a few times in the late 60s, and then lost to the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl V. When they made it back to the Super Bowl a year later, the Miami Dolphins were no match. Led by Super Bowl MVP Roger Staubach, the Cowboys cruised to a 24-3 victory. It was the first of two Super Bowls the Cowboys won in the 70s, a decade in which the team's popularity across the nation skyrocketed. Eventually, they simply became known as America's Team. Technically, the Dallas Cowboys didn't become known as America's Team until after the 1978 season, but we'll use Super Bowl VI as a launch point because it was the start of the team's decade of dominance. When the 1978 season ended, the Cowboys were coming off their fifth Super Bowl appearance in 9 years. When NFL Films editor Bob Ryan was putting together the Cowboys' official 1978 highlight reel, he was trying to figure out what to name it. While scanning the footage NFL Films had gathered, Ryan couldn't help but notice that die-hard fans in Cowboys gear showed up no matter where the team was playing. They seemingly had fans everywhere, thus America's Team was born. Of course, the team had to approve anything NFL Films was to put out. Naturally, Cowboys general manager Tex Schramm loved the name. Dallas head coach Tom Landry, not so much. Tex was all for it. He thought it was great, recalls Gil Brandt, the Cowboys' VP of Player Personnel from 1960 to 1989. Tom didn't like it very much because of the fact that now every time we went to play someplace, we'd hear, "Oh, here comes America's Team." Tex won out. Landry did his level best to help his team rise to the pressure and meet those lofty expectations on the field. The ramifications of being America's Team, meanwhile, produced a windfall profit off the field in terms of merchandise sales. As Brandt recalls, he and Schramm knew early on that they had something special. They saw the bushels of fan mail their players were getting, and made a point to reply to all. The return envelope would include a 4x6 player photo, along with an order form for Cowboys merchandise. "We did it ourselves for a while, then it became too big for us, so we gave it to a local sporting goods store," said Brandt. "Then it became too big for them to do, and Sears took it over." At one point, Cowboys merchandise represented 50% of all NFL merchandise sold. Few nicknames in sports were more appropriate than America's Team. Article 18. Jim Brown's Hall of Fame career comes to an end. This is Jim Brown running with the football. Jim Brown's Hall of Fame career comes to an end. July 13, 1966. Just 55 years and 3 days ago. When Jim Brown announced his retirement from the NFL, he was the league's all-time leading rusher. He was coming off a 1965 season in which he rushed for 1,544 yards, the 8th time in his 9-year career that he led the NFL in rushing, and he was just 30 years old. Imagine if Brown had played just a few more seasons. Would Walter Payton have passed his all-time record? Would Emmitt Smith have gotten there? We'll never know. Still, it's hard to say there has never been a more dominant football player in NFL history. It's hard to say there is ever. Brown rushed for 12,312 career yards with a combination of athleticism and brute force that made him so hard to tackle. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry. So he's basically like Christian McCaffrey, but if Christian McCaffrey could run through you. Kind of like a combination of CMC and Jerome Bettis of the good old days. Why did Brown retire at such a young age? It coincided with his interest in starting a second career in Hollywood. As the summer of '66 began, Brown was busy filming The Dirty Dozen alongside the likes of Ernest Borgnine, Charles Bronson, and Donald Sutherland. With production falling behind schedule, it was clear Brown was going to miss the start of training camp. Brown's owner, Art Modell, threatened to fine him for the days he missed. So Brown just decided to call it quits and focus on his acting career. Super Bowl 15, wide right. as it looks like Bills kicker Scott Norwood lining up to kick. Super Bowl 15, wide right, Article 19, January 27, 1991. Super Bowl 15 in Tampa, Florida offered a brief diversion from the Gulf War combat that had been taking place in the Middle East. It was the first time that bomb-sniffing dogs and metal detectors greeted fans at the Super Bowl. Once inside Tampa Stadium, however, fans were treated to one of the best and closest Super Bowls in NFL history. Even before the opening kickoff, the tone was set with an inspiring performance of the national anthem by Whitney Houston. Once the game began, New York Giants head coach Bill Parcells and defensive coordinator Bill Belichick presided over a classic game plan that needed to be flawless if the Giants were to have any chance against the heavily favored Buffalo Bills. Buffalo had torn through the NFL that season, with quarterback Jim Kelly and running back Thurman Thomas posting big numbers in the K-Gun offense. The Giants, meanwhile, were relying on backup quarterback Jeff Hostetler, who took the reins after starting QB Phil Simms suffered a season-ending leg injury late in the season. The Giants' plan was simple: pound the ball with running back Ottis Anderson, keep the ball away from the Bills' offense as much as possible, and when the Bills do go on offense, let Thomas do what he wants in the running game, but flood the secondary and hit the receivers early and often. The plan worked to perfection, yet the game still hung in the balance. Anderson rushed for over 100 yards. The Giants dominated time of possession. Still, the Bills trailed by just 1 point, with time for one last drive. Sticking to the game plan, the Giants were content to let Thomas slash his way across the field. As the game neared its end, Thomas had quietly racked up 135 rushing yards. He also had 55 receiving yards. Thomas' last run put Buffalo on the Giants' 29-yard line with 8 seconds left. Bills kicker Scott Norwood lined up for the 47-yard field goal, but the attempt sailed wide right. Final score: Giants 20, Bills 19. It remains the only Super Bowl ever decided by 1 point. That'll end things. Make sure to subscribe, as there will be a video tomorrow. It's going to be a Madden tutorial. It's going to show you how to do something that might be a little bit fun during the closing weeks of Madden 21 as we wait until Madden 22 comes out. With all that being said, goodbye.